face kind of thing, but they're still not technically biting those for those games. Like I said, I'm only going off memory here, and my memory's kind of faded off this topic, but I will, like I said, provide a link for it. But basically, at the end, at the second half of the post, now this part I really can't remember. Basically, it was kind of like the whole back and forth kind of like question and answer kind of thing between like Nintendo and like the gamers kind of thing, like them saying something and then basically the gamers responding, and basically all the quotes were saying, okay, we have this game coming out, and this game coming out, and this game coming out, and then the Nintendo gamers response was always like, okay, that sounds cool and all, but where's Xenoblade Last Star and Pandora's Tower? Oh, what about these games? You want to play these games? These games are coming out too. And then every response from the Nintendo gamer kept replying, what about Xenoblade? What about Last Star? What about Pandora's Tower? It's like, and all the responses from Nintendo was trying to get them off of those games and trying to get them into other games. But the gamers, like part of the answers, always came back to those games. And then basically at the end, it said basically, like the answer was kind of like, okay, we'll look into the sales, and they're like, I can't kind of mumble, like the Nintendo people were annoyed so much by these people that they went and actually were like, okay, we're looking into the sales kind of thing, which obviously is actually happening because Reggie's looking into European sales, or so he says pretty much. It's just the whole idea, like, I think, like, based off that kind of thing, what they're doing, they were trying to get people to forget about those games by releasing other games to stuff. Like, okay, we got Super Mario 3D Land, and we got all this stuff. We got 3DS at $169.99. We got the Flame Rather, whatever it's called, 3DS coming out. We got all these 3DS games coming out. Don't you want that? And basically, it always comes back to, like, that's cool, Nintendo, but what about Xenoblade Last Story and Pandora's Tower kind of thing? It's like the whole idea of, like, Nintendo gamers want, like, both. Nintendo gamers want a lot of things. Nintendo gamers don't want to leave something behind, pretty much, and go off to something else. Even though they want that something else, they still want that other thing too, kind of thing. And basically, it was like that too, which was reason supposedly they said, like, now that they're looking into sales supposedly. But that's the whole thing. Both mixing these things together now. Basically, it just seems like Nintendo wants gamers to move on. They have the 3DS now. They're worrying about Wii U, but a lot of gamers still want that Wii support. They don't want to leave the system behind, especially when the potential of the Wii was not, realized, especially by third parties. I mean, third-party support was better than the last two generations, pretty much, but still not where it should be. And hopefully they will improve that with the Wii U. But the Wii wasn't realized by itself, pretty much. It didn't reach its full potential. Even with Nintendo franchises, we didn't see no F-Zeros or Star Foxes, Wave Races, 1080 Snowboardings, Pikmins, or anything. Nintendo left franchises out, and I know franchises skip generations every once in a while, but they could have brought out a few more of them. That's the whole idea. Not complaining about Nintendo though. And third-party games coming out as well. And basically, they want people to move on, but gamers still want games for consoles they have now. Not every gamer is going to jump ship. Nintendo should know by now. Every gaming company should know by now. Not every people out there who buy video game systems make the jump at launch or soon after. Thus, they still have the old consoles, and thus you still provide them with some games. The DS could still use a few different games. Obviously, Fire Emblem 3 still hasn't been localized to America for whatever reason, I don't know. Obviously, that game can come out probably by the end of the year next year thing. DS could still get a few games. People, and obviously for the Wii, there's Earthseeker, Rodea, Sky Soldier, Xenoblade, Last Story, Pandora's Tower, Fatal Frame 4, Disaster Day of Crisis, Captain Rainbow, what's there again? Dynamic Slash, other new games that are coming out in the future, kind of thing. There's still games that they could release for them, though. There's games that gamers still want, and a lot of games that people seem to be wanting now. Not saying everybody, are games that have not been localized to America. So like I said in my one video about how I would end the Wii, that's the best thing Nintendo can do, because obviously they're not going to bring out a whole lot of new games, but realistically Nintendo should support the Wii throughout 2012, and the best way to do that, and the cheapest way to do that, would pretty much be localizations. And the DS the same way. The DS I could see not lasting as long as the Wii because obviously the 3DS is out, but we're not getting the Wii U until next year. And they still should be supporting the Wii up until that point, pretty much. If Nintendo really loved the Wii so much, and the fact that the Wii is pretty much one of the best-selling and better-made consoles, they really should do that. Which I don't think Nintendo's going to abandon it, like I've been hearing or so, or what people say. But I'm just saying hypothetically, which it kind of looks like they possibly could, and they might pull a GameCube and 64. And basically, it's just like the whole idea of Nintendo wants gamers to move on, but gamers still want games for now. They're not going to move on right away. They still want games for Wii. They still want games for DS. And at least in the Wii sense, it makes a whole lot of sense because we don't have nothing to move on to. At least the DS gamers have something to move on to in the 3DS, but there's nothing really to move on to just yet. It may have got a price drop, but not a whole lot of games have come out for it yet. And it's just one of those things where it's like, how they connect these two things is basically the comment on IGN was basically about how maybe Operation Rainfall is affecting the sales of 3DS, how Nintendo's basically treating the Wii and the DS, basically the 3DS sales supposedly being affected by it, like I said, and the fact that gamers still want these games, and while Nintendo's trying to push them to something else, gamers want that as well as what they were asking for, kind of thing. And it relates because the Operation Rainfall Facebook page was saying how Nintendo is treating the Wii like it's dead, but yet it's not dead yet, and they're treating the Wii U like it's already out in stores, which it's not, which kind of makes you think they want gamers to move on, but there's nothing necessarily to move on to, which basically relates back to the IGN topic because it specifically said in there, in the topic, was that Nintendo is ready to move on, but gamers aren't, kind of thing, which they kind of relate that way, and how Nintendo's treating the Wii, and how they're treating the DS, basically how they're treating the 3DS and the Wii U now. It's kind of like Nintendo's getting ready for that, but not every gamer is getting ready for that kind of thing. And it's like basically like that's basically where they connect to each other. Obviously, there's other stuff to the IGN topic, but it's like, even though it said Operation Rainfall supposedly was affecting the sales, obviously it wasn't at least a whole lot, maybe a very tiny bit it might have been, but it was basically the price and the game's out right now. And basically it's how Nintendo's treating the 3DS and getting ready for the Wii U versus how they're treating the DS and the Wii now, based off the comment on why people were doing Operation Rainfall, because they want more games for the Wii. They want Xenoblade and Last Story and Pandora's Tower in America. At least that will give more games to it, because if Xenoblade comes here, it's obviously going to be an end of 2011 game. The other two will be in 2012. If Rodea and Earthseeker come here, which supposedly they're going to be in 2012. We know Dragon Quest is next year. And then all Nintendo would have to do now is just localize a few games, and obviously the few new releases that come out that year, no matter what they are, but at least fill it up. And pretty much, I would reckon most gamers would be pleased until Wii U, and there you go. And a lot of those games will be played on Wii anyway, so Wii U anyway, so because this is backwards compatible. So Nintendo doesn't really have to worry about it. They can just market. The Wii U can play Wii games and still market those Wii games coming out in 2012, and there you go. And you can still sell Wii games in 2012, 2013, and maybe even 2014. A few Wii games come out, like very minor ones like sports games and whatnot, but still some. And gamers can still pick it up and play it in their Wii U, for whoever has the Wii at the time, whenever someone finally jumps on the Wii U bandwagon, because not everyone's going to buy it at launch, and still play those Wii games on their Wii U. Kind of thing. They can still market that, but then if no one jumps on the Wii U just yet, they still have their Wiis to play those Wii games on. And then when they're ready to jump to the Wii U, they can, because obviously anyone who jumps to the Wii U will be able to play Wii U games. And that's my whole point. And if that's true, if Nintendo wants gamers to move on, not saying that's necessarily a bad thing per se with the 3DS, But that is quite a bad thing when it comes to Wii, because we've got quite some time to wait for Wii U, and to totally abandon people for at least a year or so, even though it's not going to be a full year, but around a year, is not that great of a business move. I mean, with games that people really want, and that's why people want these games, because at least it will give something to fill that time span. And that's just my thoughts on this. I hope you guys liked it. Put in the comment section what you thought about this, and when I put the things up, you can look at them yourself and give your comments on that. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? I hope you all have a nice day. See you guys later. Peace, and please subscribe if you want to.